You can't just cover your eyes for that part in a book. If you want to know what happens, you have to immerse yourself in it. It's not like a movie, and I admit there are still some where it's like, just wait till it's over and it'll be fine, and I don't have to look at it, and I don't have to think about it ever again. When you read it, it's up there, and it's going to stay there rent-free forever. My name is Tasha Reynolds. I am currently relocated to the South. I'm an editor, a writer, I do some podcasting, and I am co-founder of the Sinister Scoop, which is a horror review site. So I'm originally from upstate New York, always wanted to go cross country and just figured it was probably not anything that was ever going to be in the cards for me. I ended up taking a job doing travel work in healthcare and was in California for a couple of years. I've been in Tennessee for 8 years now, I think, but I've kind of bounced around all over the place, and most of my horror people are here in the South too. So I've driven cross country 4 times, which has been the coolest experience. My dad's gone with me a couple of times. My cousin went with me, a friend went with me. Seeing how different things are from one coast to the next. Like, I did not give the US enough credit for how different it is, just like within the US itself. I really wasn't even into horror then yet, but looking back at it from a horror perspective, 2 girls traveling alone through the desert, all of the truck stops you stop at for gas, and the weird people you run into. It's just a horror story waiting to happen. When you're out doing things that you didn't anticipate doing, you feel a little braver to begin with. Journey is my 90-pound Great Dane Weimaraner mix, Journey the Horror Hound, and then Ripley, she's my little pit mix, and she's my little snugglebug. It was just me and Journey for a long time, and it was around the time that I started getting into horror. So well, I was like scaring myself senseless with some of these movies that now I watch. I'm like, why was this so scary to me? He was my bud. There were some nights I'd be watching movies and he would be like laying on my feet on the couch, and I would jump so much from the jump scares and everything. He would get up and walk away. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Sick of your shit. I, at the time, was working in law enforcement dispatch and hated it. And I was desperately trying to find work somewhere in the horror writing space in general. Kat, who is the world's biggest enabler, I was having a chat with her one night. I was like, man, it feels like every time I get further along, like I have more experience or I have new things that I can put on my resume, the requirements change. I'm just like constantly trying to catch up these things that I want to do because I love horror. I love books. I would love to write about books. Kat, in her infinite wisdom, was like, why don't you just start your own? And that somehow turned into a pretty big thing with the Sinister Scoop for a while. It started originally as me just having a blog where I would review books and then do author interviews. We kind of expanded that because we wanted to do something where more people in the indie space had more of a voice in things. I didn't want it to be just, well, this is Tasha's opinion on this and Tasha's opinion on that. I wanted to get everybody's opinion on things. It definitely took off. We did the Golden Scoops last summer, which we intended to do again this summer, but things kind of got in the way. But we're trying to like reorganize things. We want to make sure that we're getting a variety of people in consistently. We'd like to grow also our marketplace. We had a bunch of people who were interested in being listed as editors, people who were listed for cover design, things that especially somebody coming in brand new and not knowing how to do things. Here's some options for people you can reach out to. Horror, to anybody that's not a horror fan, is just like a blanket statement. But obviously we know, there's the body horror and the sci-fi horror and the psychological horror, and everybody has their different tastes. So by trying to get more people involved, we cover a wider range of what's out there. We're getting there. It will be back because I love it dearly. Kat started a 101 series, how to handle rejections as a writer, handling social media, what you post and how that can be seen by publishing companies, all these random little how-to things. You don't want to sound like you're dumb asking questions because you feel like everybody knows everything except you. She's really great at breaking things down and making things more accessible. I'm very fortunate to have her as a partner in that. She has a lot more experience on the writing side of things. Kat's work, she's one too that is so all over the place in what she can do. You give her a theme and she's gonna write something amazing. She's also been ducking into novelizations. So her novelization of Puppet Shark is probably one of my favorites for sure. Kill Your Darlings is a really good one. That's a collection that she's got. Her debut one, Revenge Arc. If you flip through the book, it's epistolary. So it's all formatted to look like Reddit posts and online chat rooms and text messages. Everybody, rightfully so, like oohs and ahs over the formatting. But she took the time to write it in that way. She had to come up with all these different posts and this totally different way to approach a story. It still wows me. I love that book so much. It's hard because you see the same names over and over and over again. And not that those names don't deserve to be recognized, but same with reviews. There's so many other people out there. We opened up nominations to the community and wanted them to tell us what their favorite books are, what they've been reading, their favorite authors, all that stuff. A lot of those people who are used to, kind of being brushed over when it comes to that were nominated for things and won things, and definitely warm fuzzies. A lot of people would reach out and be like, oh hey, this book that was nominated in this category, sales spiked for this book. That'll also be back during the summer. Especially with the indie community, having limited resources like that forces people to be more creative. You don't have a different department for each one of these things. It is up to you to figure out how to make this happen and how to make it look good. You can appreciate it so much more when you know it's a labor of love. Stephen King's Desperation when I was 8. I was reading over my mom's shoulder with what she picked up from the library. That was my introduction. And I've never had a problem reading horror. Like, it's a very different experience for me than watching it. So many authors all across the board. Adam Hulse does some great sci-fi horror. His first series was Creature Features. Those were great. I definitely find myself attracted to any kind of revenge story. Kirsten Craig has an amazing retelling of Medusa that made me so happy. And of course, I love her. So, it's extra satisfying to see like these super creative things come from people you care about and people you know. It's been awesome seeing Angel's work grow from when I first started editing for her. It was movie reviews for her Voices site. And now she's got books out and it's just awesome. Ruth Anna Evans, I love her dearly. She hits more on the emotional side with things. I don't do hits to the feels very well. Like, life is sad enough, but then I have to read what she writes because I'm like, oh my god, what did she come up with? Like, I need to know what's happening. She's one of the few people I let sucker punch me in the kidneys every so often. I ventured more into some extreme horror this year. River Gardner has put some really good ones out. They actually have an upcoming Christmas horror novelette that I just finished editing that is a riot, and you will never look at Santa the same again. Hollow by Mike Salt. If there was ever a book that I wish I had read trigger warnings for, but also at the same time I'm glad I didn't because it was that much more effective. Anything I'm even remotely afraid of is in that book, piled on top of everything. So it's probably one of the scariest things I've ever read. Radar DeBoer, he does a lot of stuff with Angel. He does like some great sci-fi stuff. He's ventured more into like some psychological and some body. I love editing his work because he fully expects to get some kind of like WTF radar, like at least 3 or 4 times through the course through the course of something that he sent me. So it's always fun watching people grow in their writing too. When you start, this is what they first wrote and this is what they're writing now. As far as anthologies, my very first published editing experience really was with livestock, which Angel and I put together after Roe versus Wade was overturned, and all the profits for that go to the Center for Reproductive Rights. I've had a hand in all of the charity projects Angel has done. This House Is Not Ours. All funds for that go to Lotus House, which helps homeless women and kids, like education, employment resources. I edited all of the House anthologies that Voices has put out, where Angel is coming up with one for creating a book for every different room in the house. Those have been a lot of fun to edit. We always want to give an opportunity to people that we don't know, that we haven't seen pop up anywhere, as opposed to, there's that one person that's like always invited to an anthology because they're amazing and they know it'll bring in readers. Like, we want to showcase the people that you haven't seen any of their work yet, but you're going to read this story and it's going to like change your life and the way you look at something forever, because it's just haunting and terrifying. All of the anthologies Angel's done, I've proofread, I believe, all of the anthologies that Ruth Anna has done. There's Ooze, Dark Blooms, which was a coming-of-age horror for girls. She's my OG horror bestie. She was looking for people for her influential horror series. I felt super unqualified, but you know what? I've never done this before. Maybe it could be fun. I don't remember how long she and I talked, but it ended up being way longer than what she was aiming for with her interviews and stuff. And it just went from there. I mean, I started recording with her and like all this stuff that I never in a million years thought I would be doing. Her love for everything indie and for every individual person's journey with horror, that's definitely played a part into like how I operate and how I do things and how I think about things as far as horror. Seeing her grow in what she does and encouraging me to grow in what I do, being that cheerleader on the bad days, just randomly sends you some ridiculous meme or gif and you guys watch it and it's like, oh, that's us. That's or just randomly like, oh hey, it's Tuesday and I just want to remind you that I love you and that you're a badass. And I'm just like, thank you. The Ghoulish Gallery was my own venture into podcasting. That's another thing that I would love to bring back. My goal with that was to talk to people from all over the place. My goal was to hit one person from like every state. There's always those local legends and urban legends and things like that that don't make it mainstream that are also terrifying. Inadvertently turned into talking with an author for almost every episode. I talked to an author from Iceland. So I had her on right before Christmas and it turned into like an Icelandic horror Christmas folklore episode. Stories like that, especially when you're growing up and you hear it, like it's gonna play some kind of part in your development. It may not have ever scared you, but it's still something you're gonna think about like every Christmas. There's that cat that's gonna come eat you if you don't wear the socks that you got for Christmas. It's fascinating to me. And kind of the same thing with movies, foreign films. There's so much that you can learn about people and entire cultures based on what they're afraid of. Like I said, I grew up in upstate New York. There's Champy, which is the Lake Champlain version of the Loch Ness Monster. I remember there being a ghost story. There was like a big Amish community, and there were stories about there was an accident one night and a car hit a buggy and like everybody in the buggy died, and you could hear them coming up the road in the middle of the night if you were outside and things like that. Like with Tennessee, so one of the local-ish ones, I think they called him the Skinned Man, and it was somebody who got caught at like a lover's point with somebody else's wife, and the husband like skinned him alive. So they say he's still swamping around somewhere. We have local Bigfoot and mountain people Hills Have Eyes legends. But I just found out last year that there's actually a local Bigfoot festival. This should have been in the flyer when I moved here. Come on. I've always had a very active imagination with things. It's very easy for me to scare the shit out of myself over absolutely nothing, especially anything alien related. My brain just goes out into left field and it's an invasion. I do really appreciate that about books because it is kind of up to you to fill in the blanks. You can't just cover your eyes for that part in a book. If you want to know what happens, you have to immerse yourself in it. It's not like a movie, and I admit there are still some where it's like, just wait till it's over and just it'll be fine and I don't have to look at it and I don't have to think about it ever again. When you read it, it's up there and it's going to stay there rent-free forever. I do like being scared. I think it's a very fun emotion, or it can be, as long as it's not like a genuinely life or death, obviously. But haunted houses, love going to those. I cannot be at the end of the line. I need an entourage around me, especially if it's one where people can follow you or reach out and grab you. My boyfriend was making fun of me. Thank goodness he's also a fan of a lot of these things. So we were watching, it was either an analog horror or a movie that he had already seen, and he knew a jump scare was coming, and he grabbed my leg right at the jump scare, and I about hit the ceiling. It's like, when you see people getting scared, I will laugh because I know I would laugh once I was done being scared. I don't know what it is, but it's just a fascinating emotion. As I have grown, obviously as most of us do, I have changed a lot as a person, but also I'm very consistent with some things. So I feel like at any point in my life, if you ask somebody something about me, they're going to comment on me correcting their grammar and being terrified of spiders. So, in high school, it was like, okay, can you go over this essay for me before I turn it in? Then it turned into, oh, hey, can you look at this email before I send it off in the workplace and things like that. And now actual editing, and it's always catching typos and being terrified of spiders. And it would probably end up being, if only she hadn't jumped when that spider crawled up her arm when she was driving or something like that. Because it will inevitably be a spider that takes me out. For a long time, I feel like being a fan of anything horror related or being goth or alt or anything like that automatically made you a misfit or a weirdo. Now as adults, it's all of these weirdos that have come together. Hell yeah, we're weirdos. And if you want to be a weirdo too, you come right on over here. It's the most accepting, inclusive community ever. Everybody is so kind. I've seen more and more where horror, especially when things in real life are atrocious, it's a way for a lot of people to process emotions. It's not sitting there journaling, whatever, but it's still a way to deal with the things that infuriate us or break our hearts or whatever. It's a safe space. The community is so quick to come together and be like, people in this community will not be hurt. And I love that so much. It's just like a giant extended family.